You know what time it is. All right. We are live.
We are live.
Yeah, live. It's 5:55.
Oh, it's 5:55, but it's 7:55 this way. No,
Uh,
it's not
we
7:55.
actually early.
Oh, okay.
We actually, yeah. So what's up, everybody? We are back. Are we streaming on my wall, your wall, in the group?
Yeah, you should be able to see this on my wall, on your wall, on Angie and Dennis. I'm about to share it on those walls, but
Okay.
it doesn't automatically.
Oh, okay. All right. So welcome. We back. So we were on yesterday talking about sex and romance, a topic that we think needs to be talked about more. And so, we're here, Daniel and Kendra. We're here in AZ, Arizona. We are from Gilbert, Arizona. And we're representing our just marriage coaching, marriage ministry marriage groups. And we're here with our partners in crime, Dennis and Angela Bullock, all the way from the Sunshine State of Florida. How y'all doing?
Oh, we're doing great. It's not.
It wasn't sunshiny.
Yeah,
today.
it wasn't sunshiny and it was cold.
It was cold. It's been cold.
It rained today too, but then it warmed up for a few minutes. It was weird.
But we good. Jacksonville's good today. It's just a little cold, but we good.
All right,
Good
all right.
to see y'all.
Good to see everybody.
It's good to see y'all too. What's cold? Angie, you got thin blood now. You've been out here for a while. So what's cold?
No,
That's really true.
it was like in the 40s this morning.
Oh, okay. That's cold.
And then yesterday it was like 30.
Yeah, I want to say it's been in like the 30s and 40s in the morning. It's cold. Then you add rain to it. It ain't that warm rain. It's like cold rain.
Okay.
So I'm like, I see how people be getting COVID. I mean, the weather be changing out here like crazy.
Plus Florida.
Because they don't talk about colds anymore. They don't talk about colds. It's just COVID.
Ah.
Y'all talk about cold?
What, you don't? You remember when you said I got a cold?
Oh, a cold.
Oh, cold.
Oh.
I thought you said cold. COD.
Yeah, cold.
The most common respiratory disease is a cold. I didn't know if y'all knew that.
We thought you meant CODE. Anywho, no, for real. I thought you said cold. Like, and you thought it too.
Okay, all right. Well.
So again, welcome everybody, and today we're talking about sex and romance. As we continue our conversation from yesterday, this is what we call on our series to our event coming up March 12th. I got that right? March 12th is our event coming up, and the event this year is virtual. We usually have a local event every single year, and it's usually held in person, but COVID. Right, just like Dennis was saying, COVID has happened, and so we are going virtual like we did last year. Our event this year is about sex and romance. We got a very special guest coming. Can we announce the guest yet?
No, we just starting the conversation.
Okay. And so you'll have to wait on that, but it is a special guest, and you guys are gonna enjoy what we got coming to you. So tonight we're continuing our conversation. Before we get to the conversation, just want to so we don't have any like products or anything to promote, but we do. This is our ministry, right? This is what we do. We are very passionate about keeping marriages together, providing marriage enrichment tools, especially in the way that most people consume things, through their mobile device, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we want to make sure that when you pick that up, we are one of those ministries that'll be there for you, right? So when you need encouragement, when you need to understand something or seeking advice on something, we want to be that conduit or connection to enable you to be able to do that. So you can do that through connecting with our podcast, which is at anchor.fm / Living Well Marriage. All of our social media is Living Well Marriage. So you can do that. You can go to our YouTube channel. So most of our podcasts also have a YouTube video cast with it. And so we can be found there at Living Well Marriage. #love for real. Love the number 4 real. and that will distinguish. That'll get right to us if you put in that hashtag. We can be found on Instagram that way as well. And we have, if you want to support the ministry by a donation, whatever amount, you can do it online at patreon.com/livingwellmarriage. All right. So I think I got everything in there. Did I miss anything? Nope. Okay.
Not
Good.
that I could think of. So we just want y'all to, if you're watching right now, we would love for you to share this on your wall so that we can have as many people can see this as possible. We got our buddies with us tonight, the Bullocks. So we would love to just have as many conversations. We had a good conversation last night, so it would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard it was a good conversation. I heard.
It was a good conversation.
So this is like
We broke Kendra out of her comfort zone.
Yes, and
She got into the groove.
I'm still
She got
not in my
into the
comfort
groove.
zone. I'm
Yeah.
just telling y'all that right now. I'm still not in my comfort zone. But you know what? This is important enough for us to have these conversations for me to keep getting out of my comfort zone.
And guys, as we have this conversation, if you have any questions, comments, you want to chime in, you got some insight, hey, the comments are there for you to be able to do that. We can bring up questions on the screen. We can show comments on the screen.
Yeah.
So we want this to be a real interactive conversation. It's one that needs to be had. It's a dialogue that needs to happen, and we're just here to facilitate it.
So Bullocks, last night we were asking everybody, like, where do you feel like you learned about sex? How did you get educated about the ways of sex? The good, the things that were not right that you were told, or maybe you watched and observed. So where do you feel like you learned about sex?
I mean, are we trying to go back? We're going to trace back the umbilical cord back from
all the way
back.
all the way back.
Well, let's just say I think mine was just a typical bad experience of, learning about sex. Again, when you grow up in the inner city, it's kind of like a badge of honor to, knowing how many partners you've been with. Mm-hmm. And, I don't think guys, we really told about our, what happened. I don't know. I wasn't that type of person. I know a lot of guys lied about how many partners they had, and but for me, it was, I grew up, and if you was the guy that had, 2 women on the side, you was not, shunned. You was kind of like
celebrated. Yeah.
You got the playa, the pimp, all those type of things, and you was like,
it's so sad. We used to say, well, I didn't. That's sad that it was celebrated.
And the interesting thing is that men wouldn't consider. I'm gonna go there. Can I go there?
Go.
Yeah.
I said it holds. Yes.
Yeah. Well, see, so if a woman was out there,
we used that word several times last night.
Oh, you did? Okay.
You really got out your comfort zone.
Men were never considered.
Blame it on Angelique. She typed it in.
Sometimes you get in trouble, but we're love for real. We're just keeping it real. And so again, let me say this, and just being transparent. I was since high school. I was in some type of relationship, and so and even in college, I was in some type of relationship. So. It wasn't like I was trying to seek out. So like some people were like every single weekend, it was a different person, So for me, I was involved in a long-term relationship. Monogamous, I made some stupid mistakes, you try certain things and it just, I did try to, have one in college and then one down in another city. And it just didn't work out. I couldn't lie. Being a player wasn't in your bones. It wasn't in my bones. You get found out and everything like, oh, you lying. But just bad advice,
And I would say I got a lecture from my mom. I don't think my dad ever talked to me about it. My mom was pretty much like, don't do it. And I was like, okay. But it was like either my girls, TV, music, all of the above. And then I would say some of the bad things were learned in relationships. And I would say I had men lie on me about having sex, and I would be like, what's the big deal? Like, why you gotta lie on me? So stuff like that just makes you have an attitude. It's like, because it's like you are glorified and you're lying on me and making me look like I'm something. You know what I mean? So it was, to me, it was a interesting experiences growing up when it came to sex.
I think what you said about culture, because we grew up when the hip hop culture was just exploding.
Right, we had
in the early
NWA,
90s,
you know
in
what
the
I'm
early
saying?
90s. And so
We had
it
Two
was
Live
almost seen.
We had 2 Live Crew, NWA.
Yeah, so you had
Right.
the
It's
drinking
your
of
birthday.
the drinking of
It's
40
your birthday.
ounces, the
Yeah,
weed
Crazy
was
Horse,
introduced.
weed,
And
chronic,
so you add that, and then you're trying to have
a relationship.
well, just having sex. You just doing it the whole wrong way.
Right, and you got Snoop Doggy Dogg and his crew talking about it ain't no fun unless the homies have some. You know what I'm saying? It's like it wasn't a good education. You know what I mean?
So music and television did play, I think, a big role on how you perceived and saw sex. You looked at Living Single, you looked at some type of show, and you saw that, okay, this is the way I got to do certain things. Or you might listen to music, and now you want to call a woman out their name because it was the so-called thing that was culture and it was happening. So had a lot of bad examples. My parents did not talk to me about sex, so it was nothing mentioned about it.
Oh, sorry. I was having a moment. I was like, my dad did talk to me about sex, but it was a moment where God gave him a vision and he found my birth control pills and he was like, give me your car keys and da 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 da. But that was the conversation that I had.
It was punishment. It was like,
Yeah.
he was scared,
So you got
he punished you.
So you got your birth control pills by yourself.
I think I went to, not trying to get all deep so early in the conversation, but I guess it's real, like love for real, right? I think I went to Planned Parenthood and got birth control pills.
Planned Parenthood.
And when my dad found them, he was like, what is these? And I was like, I only got those because I wanted to be prepared, Dad. That's it. Angie innocent, I ain't doing nothing. And he's like, well, if that's so, why did God show me you? And don't let me tell you what he said you was doing. I'm like, well, thank God dang, Lord, can I have a life? That's how I was in college. Yeah. So that's like the conversation I got. It was like the keys were taken, shame on you. And I didn't really have a lot of conversation about it.
And you guys recall any good, like anything that you were taught about sex that was good or that you learned? And you're like, no.
Let me say, after I graduated from college, got hooked up with Word of Faith, and
that's when I did start getting
and you started listening to teaching. So I became a youth mentor, what they call now, but I was a youth leader back then, and I was listening to the youth pastor talk about sex and talk about to the youth, and it was powerful. I mean, I was sitting there, I was looking back over my life and looking at all the mistakes I made. And I'm looking at what these young people are getting. And I was like, my goodness, I wish to God that I could got this teaching back then.
Yeah.
But how did that go? I mean, what, so you have all this programming up to that point. What changed or what was in the teaching? Can you give a specific example of like, I wish I'd have known that when I was coming up?
And can I say, before you get into it, I remember we also, in the big arena at Word of Faith, we had Frank and Bunny Wilson come to the church. And I remember her saying, show of hands, anybody who, as you grew up, you heard positive things about sex. And so at that time, Word of Faith was huge. And it was just, the room was packed. There had to be a couple of thousand of us in there. And it was like barely any hands raised. It was probably, at least where I could see, it was like probably less than 10 hands that were raised of people who said they grew up and they were told positive things about sex. So
yeah. So the thing that I heard first was no touch, no kiss,
no premarital bliss.
This temple can't be touched because God blessing is on this. I think I remember that.
I don't remember. I just remember no touch, no kiss.
Yeah.
No premarital
so
bliss. Yeah.
When you start hearing that, and it becomes something that's cool, and you like, man.
And it was like at Word of Faith, if you was having sex out of wedlock, folks was like, dude, like, why? Because it was like we so wanted to honor God, and it wasn't like this bad thing, slap your hand. It was more, we want to honor God and we want to love God. And yeah, we might have did it for years wrong, but now we really want to do it right. And so it was a lot of encouragement. It was a lot of support. And to me, it made it a lot easier to live your life, right.
So listening to the pastors, the youth pastor example, I mean, threw us a lot on fire. I mean, he would say things to the ladies, like he'll say something like this: "Ladies, do you want to revolutionize the world?" And he have all the ladies. Keep your legs closed.
Pin drop.
So okay, let's talk about this.
That's
let's
a
talk
negative.
about this.
Yeah.
So do you feel like because I'm looking for an example of, some teaching that brings us back to the center, right? That makes us understand the right way or God's way. And do you think No Touch, No Kiss did that? Did that bring you back to the center? Does that make it? Does that balance out the what's going on in the world?
Yeah, or is that another extreme?
Well, it was. Let me say this: I do see the extreme in it, but when you're talking about when you're out there having sex, sometimes you need to hear the extremes in order to maybe put the car in neutral, so to speak. And so you can learn to develop a relationship with Christ and then understand what the Word of God says about certain things. And then now you can approach certain things in the right way. So,
and let me say, even with the ladies, they were saying the same thing to the boys. So the boys and the girls heard that message. But to me, I felt like it was positive. I didn't feel like it was stressful. I felt like we got a really good balance. We got taught positive stuff, like Bishop would talk to us about your best positions and different things. I don't go into a lot of details, but he would talk about stuff like that. They would talk about having conversations about sex, getting on the same page about sex. They would talk about, I remember hearing conversations about if you weren't in the mood to have sex, why would you want to try to encourage yourself if your husband was asking you to have sex? So I felt like it was a well-balanced meal. I didn't feel like it was anything that made me feel pressured to be holy, I guess. And then to me, because the environment at the time, it was more from the congregation, like people who were our age, we all really just wanted to like love God and honor God. So it made it like, I don't know, it just made it easier for me.
I think for me, it helped me because I had a good support system. There was a whole bunch of men, but we was all youth leaders at the time. And we was older than the teenagers. So we were in our 20s. And we made a vow, not only to God, but we made a vow to each other. To the first time that we do anything with our wife is when we're married. And I thought that was commendable, to abstain from sex and everything like that. I know a lot of people be like, well, we don't do that. But that was something that was culture for us. And all of us, I can say the majority of us who made that vow, that's actually what happened. And so I thought, when you got like, 10, 12 guys who are doing the same thing, and then they calling you up and you say, hey, everything cool and everything like that. I thought that was definitely something different from the way I was raised.
The flip.
When I was raised, yeah, she keeps on interrupting me. And it's like, I'm trying to express myself. And then I got something to say. Brother trying to express himself about sex. Okay. So anyway, what I was trying to say is that, I thought it was something cool, from the standpoint of is that, back in the day, you was encouraged to go, man, you better go and do something with that. You better, come on, you better do something like that. And, you didn't really have the heart to, really, kind of, you're getting urged to do something negative. And so what I loved about it is going through that process. I learned more about myself than anything else during that period of time of abstaining. I wasn't trying to look at a woman the wrong way and try to get her in bed and then get bored and be like, you know what, this is just not working out. I felt like, I found out about myself, and that's really how I think when you start the dating process or you start the courting process, your first thing on your mind is not sex. Your first thing on your mind is just a potential, and so.
I would
Yeah.
say that's a good point because for me, it gave me the opportunity. Like I went through it where I'm opposite. He was very monogamous. I was like boyfriend, after boyfriend, and I break up, get another boyfriend. So for me, I had to learn how to be by myself and enjoy being by myself because I was taught that if I had a problem, the best way to resolve it, or if I broke up with somebody, the best way to deal with it was get a new man. So I agree. Like that's a good point. It like really helped me to know myself and be comfortable in my own shoes and not feel like I needed a man or sex to have a healthy relationship.
And so in that, now you're communicating with the individual instead of trying to have sex, in which sex is probably heavily about communication. What you're talking about, how you communicate to each other. And that really helped me during that particular season because I know how I was. I mean, I was one of those type of guys that was looking. I was doing that, and there was a season where I went a totally different direction. So I would train myself not to just look at a woman in that particular way. So
yeah. So I mean, so if you're out there listening and you have a question or comment, please.
Yes, we want to hear
drop
your
it in.
stories. What are
What-
your thoughts?
And
about
so a
this?
question I have about for everybody is, what are your positive and negative experiences coming up? Right? Is there anybody out there where mom and dad sat you down and talked to you about
My
it?
parents did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about
My parents
that.
talked to us about sex.
What did they say? Because
it was talked about to the point where we were like, we don't want to hear this anymore. My mom was a teen mom. She was a high school senior when she was pregnant with me. So my mother was a teen mom. And so it was very important to her that we understood, not the information. She knew we were going to get on the playground and, hanging out with your friends and all that kind of stuff. It was important to both my parents that they talked to us. My dad would talk to us about things from a male perspective. So it was not weird or strange in my house for us to talk about sex.
So how did that? I want to know how they went because my dad didn't talk to me about that. Right.
Mhm.
So at least I don't remember it.
Mhm.
So Dad, if you're out there and you did, excuse me. I just remember maybe I blocked it out.
Yeah.
But what did your dad bring to the table there?
What do you mean? He
Like,
gave me the
in the
male
conversa-
perspective.
Yeah,
He gave
what
me
is
the
that?
male perspective?
What did you hear? Because I don't know if you actually remember the conversation.
Oh
but-
yeah, I'm sure I don't remember the conversation. He just, let me know, teenage boys, how their brains work, and to not believe everything that a guy would tell me in order to put me in a position to get what he wanted from me and being able to move on. And so I feel like I didn't have like a negative view of sex other than the fact that I knew that sex was for marriage. Like my parents taught us that sex was for marriage, but also that for us, if you decide that you are not going to wait till marriage to make sure you use protection. That's what my parents taught us. And then like when I became a Christian, I feel like the church we went to at the time, I feel like it wasn't something that they made a big deal about one way or the other. It wasn't all this conversation constantly about trying to keep yourself holy and all that kind of stuff. It was just more of, what we needed to know. But I feel like for myself, what I did to myself in an attempt to, quote, be holy is like what we talked about yesterday when I said I suppressed that part of myself. So when you suppress that part of yourself, then you get married, then you're supposed to turn the flip. You're supposed
Right.
to and then turn it on again. And so that was hard for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was, when I was ready to turn the switch on, I was ready to go, like 8 days a week. So I'm like,
But I would say I had the same thing. It was hard for me to turn the switch back on. But the thing that I didn't miss was having sex outside of marriage, was the soul ties or the bonds that I would make with people. To me, it was very refreshing to have sex in a positive way, in a healthy way, in a marriage, and not have to wake up and feel ashamed or wake up and be wondering, do I need to check, am I pregnant? To me, that was super refreshing, but I did think that it was kind of hard to like just jump back on and be like, hey, like, you know what I mean? Because I had turned the faucet off, or he turned the faucet on, and it was like, whoosh. Me, it was like, it wasn't like that.
Well, I think I was more like Dennis, in that at least I think you were going this route, Dennis. So we were somewhat the same and somewhat different. In the same, I mean, I always had in my mind wanting to be married at a young age. Right. So from the time I hit puberty, I saw what I felt like was a good marriage in my parents, and I wanted that for myself. Right. And so even though I did have sex before marriage, in my mind, I was always justifying it because I was like, oh yeah, I'm in love with this person and this is who eventually I'm going to marry. Right. Didn't turn out that way, of course. But never had that conversation with the parents that I'm having with my children, like letting them know that, you know, marriage is a covenant. Sex is a, you know, it really, because I don't, even though we say it, what's the word for when you have sex once you get married?
Consummate.
The consummation of the marriage. We don't, as kids coming up, we don't get that concept. It's not said enough.
Yeah,
Right?
that's good.
That when you actually get married, you consummate, you're creating a covenant because blood is shared, right? During that time, you break the hymen, all this, the blood flows, things culminate at that point, and you're creating a covenant. And if you see it that way, it becomes in your mind, especially as a teenager or someone who's not there yet. Oh, it's serious. So, because I think in our culture today, sex is casual. It's not serious. It's like, and if you know, you talk to teenagers today and they're having sex, and you're like, you know, guys, this is serious. They're looking at you like you have a third eye. It's like, it's just sex. Everybody does it. And I think we need to, you know, harp more on the fact that, you know, sex is it's not a casual thing. It's not something you do just because you want to explore it and you want to, you know, figure it out. It's something that you reserve and something that represents a marriage, a covenant. You know,
and you know,
so.
I think because in our culture, so it's such a challenge because in our culture, like I talked about this last night, we swing from opposite extremes, right? So there is people that have been so repressed, you know, they make, you know, certain denominations, like you can't even show your ankles, right? You can't show your wrists.
I was there.
Right. You can't show your wrists, right? You can't show any parts of yourself that could potentially tempt someone, right? So then that's one extreme, right? And then the opposite extreme is because of people feeling so repressed and oppressed because of those kinds of things, then it's like there's this casualness to sex where it's like we act as if it's not connected to who you are spiritually, it's not connected to who you are emotionally, and maybe honestly for some people it's not, because if they have practiced that for such a long time, then maybe at a certain point, I really don't know, but maybe at a certain point it's no longer connect. They don't necessarily feel that connection.
I think it's like that scripture that talks about when you do something for so long, it becomes like
it sears your conscience.
Yeah. Where you no longer feel it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like calluses
way
on your hand.
Yeah. In the same way. Yeah. And then, so let me read some of these comments really quick. So one of the Facebook users, for some reason, I don't know, I can't tell who it is, but someone said my parents talked to us about it, but it wasn't like a sit down. Who was it?
Justin Kelly.
Oh, Justin Kelly. And then Ubika said, we didn't talk about sex growing up. I was raised in a Kojic church and it was taboo, but it was always placed on the girl that this isn't something that good girls do. So there was definitely a stigma attached to it, especially for a girl or a woman. And even though there were men hoeing around in the church, come on, Ubika. See, she put it out there, plain and simple.
Right.
Latron says, good evening. I've been missing you. I'm finally catching. Oh, hey, Latron.
So Latron.
We happy to have a male voice tonight. Okay. Last night we had another male. So we would love to hear your thoughts about what you were taught about sex and how that has shaped, even once you got married, how did that shape your relationship with your wife?
Dr. Alexander.
Right. Hey, Tandra. I see you on here too.
So I feel like we get these mixed messages from the culture, from the Christian culture, we get and from the culture at large. So for homework, I asked people to watch that Michael B. Jordan Alexa commercial, and
Which my husband hates.
I had already texted it to Angie and Dennis and Daniel in a group text. So I'm curious to know, what was your thoughts about the commercial? Like, what do you feel like the message of that commercial was?
I felt like it was okay to lust after that little boy who I don't even think is that cute. But I was like, basically, women lust after him, and it's okay to have an emotional lust, like just go crazy. While your husband is like, please don't do it, please don't.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was funny. But I thought it was. I mean, he's not.
Yeah, it's funny how they use the sexual attraction for a device, even though it wasn't Michael B. Jordan technically, but they used the device to be him. And
but it was, to me, yeah, I get what you're saying.
See, it was Michael B. Jordan.
But okay.
No, but my point that I'm making is so funny when we talk about culture, how culture puts so much emphasis, on certain things. Like we used to talk about this. She likes watching the Hallmark Channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's always about
the same story.
It's always got the same story, and the woman wants to be, it has this relationship feel, and it's all romantic, and how the guy says
and she
everything.
go back to her old city and just bump into somebody from high school. And
Some of the other movies we have out there, guy shoots up, the place, and then he has sex with a woman, and then he falls in love with it. So it's like you always getting these mixed signals, and then you go into the church and it's like no, 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 and then you're out in the world, and it's like yes, yes, yes. And so when you watch the particular commercial, it was funny, it was hilarious. But it just went too far for me. It just really went too far. I mean, she's in the bath.
Alexa, dim the lights. Did it go too far for you?
Yeah, it was in the bathtub. I mean, come on, man. I'm like, you're in the bathtub with your device and Michael B. Jordan and all that type of stuff. I'm pretty sure
he was like, we will not get anything like that ever. I was like, yeah.
Well, I mean, they do it, and this is just the flip side. They do it with women all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every technical device they sell, they have some woman selling it with half her clothes off, and so they just kind of flip it around, and now they giving women a little.
It's a fantasy, right? It's a fantasy. That's what they're selling. They're selling a fantasy, and
it's attention.
I feel like that's what we think when we get married. We're marrying a fantasy of what marriage is gonna be like, and then the love for real kicks in. Oh, this is real stuff. Oh, okay.
Right. I didn't know it was gonna be this hard.
Your expectations, start to be like, okay, I thought that a romance was gonna be happening. I thought I was gonna get these flowers every single day. The way that you dated me and the way that you opened the door,
pursued me.
Why you don't do it no more? It's all those type of things. But I thought it was
she would have been electric. That was just
because Alexa got a cord.
It's waterproof.
Yes.
You better make sure it's waterproof.
And then you wake up from the fantasy. So that's a good segue for us for like we weren't gonna be on here long for our date night, but really like we'll be having these conversations all month long, talking about sex and romance and all those good things. So if there's something more specific that you all want us to talk about, we would love for you to like DM one of us or leave a comment on this video. If there's something that you disagree with that we said, maybe you would be willing to come on and talk with us about it. Like, we're open to that. Like, we are not sex therapists. We are not sex experts. We are experts of what it's like to be married to the person sitting next to us. But we're not experts on what's happening in your life. So we would love to have a conversation. If you don't agree with some of the things that we said, we're open to that.
We just having a conversation.
Yeah, we're just having a conversation. What's really important is that we have the conversation. To me, married people, like we're the ones that should be having the most fun in
Right.
our bedrooms, right? Because we have built this intimacy. Hopefully, we're vulnerable, we're naked, we're not ashamed. We're doing the work to be committed to each other and spend time, but it feels like everybody else is the one having all the fun, and we're the ones that are constantly struggling in this area. And so we're trying to do our part in helping you have some of these conversations with your spouse.
It's because we believe the lie, right? We believe the smoke and the mirrors, and that is Hollywood, right? And that's all it really is. It's just smoke and mirrors. I mean, they turn 20 years of someone's life or experience into 2 hours.
That's right.
So it's not real, people.
Right.
It's not real.
And then I just, again, with other people, what's I like is hearing different perspectives. Because sometimes we've been knowing the Tillmans through almost 18 years, right? Or close to 18 years. And so we know each other
longer, right?
Yeah. We've been knowing each other for so long, so we kind of know each other. But there's always somebody out there that's, just listening to other things that have a different perspective that you can add to it. So we want to definitely hear some other perspectives, because we know you guys have some good stuff. So we would love to hear. Please
so I'm
share.
gonna read a comment from somebody, and if you guys are out there, smash those emojis and
the hearts, the likes, because then other people will see
that'll
this.
bring other people to the stream. If you like what we're saying, if you don't like it, smash. All right. So Natron says, I learned about sex in the streets. I was introduced to pornography at 5. So I was very misguided, misinformed, and skewed in what intimacy was supposed to be, how God intended it. Then he had me work on my impaired perceptions of sex prior to my marriage, so I'd be ready for what he was doing. All right.
Awesome.
So God is, an important piece of getting this sex life thing right. Right. I think a lot of what our culture is misguided us in is thinking that somehow we need to separate what you do sexually and physically in sex from being holy. And that's not true, right? If you read the Song of Solomon, then you really get, God's heart on marriage, and it's just a little bit into it, real steamy, right? It's real hot. And so that's the kind of fun that we should be having. We should be climbing trees and holding on to coconuts. And
I knew you was going to say that.
and drinking flowing waters. We should be doing all of that. So I had to say flowing waters and that kind of thing for you to get it. But if you read the Song of Solomon and you translate it into language,
it is a little spicy. It is. It's like, okay, is this the Bible? Yes, it is a little spicy.
You'll move from the living room to the bedroom real quick.
A little steamy.
Yeah. So that's that.
Yeah, so that comment is about I think that it promoted that looking at in your neighbor's yard type of thinking, like, discontentment, right? She paid no attention to her husband who was right there in it with her. Yeah, and you know what? And it's like, hey, I get it. Like, some people might feel like, oh, y'all just take everything so serious. And we laughed. Okay, let me tell you. All of us laughed. We had jokes, we had memes, all of it. We laughed about it. But we also know that there is a message in anything that you are consuming. So whether you believe it's true or not, you are getting seeds planted in your heart every time you see those images, whether it's a commercial, a movie, a TV show, the music you listen to. All those things are making deposits in your heart. And the more you let those deposits in, and you don't really think about what's happening, like if you just mindlessly consume those things, then you don't realize how it starts to deteriorate your perception of marriage and relationships, especially if you are a married person. It can put a longing in your heart for something or someone other than your spouse. And so what we're hoping, this is the good news. What we're praying and hoping for is that all the things that we're providing for you and the event that we have coming up, that it's going to help you have the kind of marriage that it's a fantasy for you. Maybe you never dreamed it could be this good, it could be this great, this wonderful, this connected to your spouse. And so that's what we hope you will feel like as you participate in some of the things that we have coming up.
Yeah, because somebody said about the commercials, kind of like, looking over into somebody else's yard. And what we want to, I guess, encourage is that, yes, your marriage can be that fantasy, right, that you need and that you desire. And it's really all about redirecting your expectations, or managing your expectations. Because we used to teach, we used to do some devotionals, and one of those series that we did was on great expectations, where you get into marriage and you look at, or you expect your husband to be this knight in shining armor, or your wife to be this queen. And the minute they mess up, your whole life is ruined, right? Because you start to see their flaws. Right. And when you're not in marriage, we treat each other like nobody's business. Like, it's like, oh, we doing, like Dennis said, we're doing the flowers, we spending all kind of money. We just going the extra mile, and then we get into marriage, come home from work, and you're tired. And, you may have issues or something on your mind. Somebody went off on you that day, and now you're coming home every day. So you're going to see, how the pressure, you're going to see that person under pressure, right? Whereas before you wouldn't. And so just realigning the expectations can really improve your connection and your bedroom flavor, right, if you will.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So
you have anything to do? Either you or you have anything else you want to share?
I want to put this one up there.
Which one?
Yeah.
And just to let y'all know, Dennis had to go get Chris. So
okay.
All right.
Yeah, we understood. He told us he gave us a heads up. Yes. So, and we're about to wrap up anyway. We said we were gonna keep this short tonight. Angie, did you have anything else? Any other thoughts?
The only thing I wish it was more balanced. I know I'm kind of going backwards, but I wish it was more balanced, because it's kind of like, I think it was Justin in the comments that said, our parents just said, don't get nobody pregnant and here's some condoms, where women, it's more like you're almost shunned, or it's, really a hardcore conversation in regards to what your responsibilities are. I just wish it was more balanced. I try to have those conversations with Chris too. Like, you got to keep in mind the person you dating is somebody that might be your wife, or that might be somebody's future wife. That's somebody's daughter. You know what I mean? And I think, like, women, even when it comes to sex, like, we have just been presented in such a way that I think sometimes it affects men's respect or how they look at us. I think one of the most things I have hated through my life is being looked at as what I call a piece of steak. When I know a man is looking at me in a very sexual, lustful way, and he's not my husband, or even before I knew Dennis, it is one of the worst feelings ever. And I don't know if guys really know how sometimes they can make women feel. So I feel like it's more education and responsibility put on the woman versus guys. And I just wish it was more balanced.
Yeah. And Angie, yes, I totally agree with you. As a mother of sons, like, since they were young, we have taught them, like, my thing that I say to them repeatedly is, women deserve honor and respect. They deserve respect and kindness. That's what I say, because I want them to see a woman as a human being, not, like the object of their affection, or someone that they feel like, you're supposed to fulfill my every need and desire. Right. He is a human being just like you are. And so I agree. It's like that I think that we can have a lot of to say, like, whoever, like, the parenting figure is in their life, right, can have a big part to play in helping young men see women as human beings, and not just, and then that way too, when you go into marriage, like, one of the things one day when the four of us were talking, I remember saying to Daniel and Dennis that I feel like they actually like women. So they're not like, you know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah, I
there
remember that
are people who are
conversation.
married that don't like women. They don't respect
Right.
women. That's what I mean when I say that. And so you want to be a man who your wife believes that you actually like her as a person, not just as your wife. Like you respect her as a human being.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I think even listening to the two of y'all talk about your previous, sexual life before you got married, it was monogamous. It was, this may be the person I'm married. Like, I was a person, I always hung out with like a ton of dudes and it'd be me. So I was that chick in the big crew with all these guys. So I was listening to dudes running trains on girls, having 3 and 4 women at a time, getting people pregnant and leaving. I wasn't hearing men talk about, this could possibly be my wife and I want to respect her in that manner. So to me, the way that y'all come totally different at it says a lot, period. And I just wish we could get that message out more. It would be great.
Yeah.
There was a question on the website that I like. I can't remember the name of the website, but I'll drop the link. But in there, the question was, and I'm just speaking from the male perspective, and what you said kind of brought this to my mind. It's like, what does a sexually healthy man look like?
Mm-hmm.
Such a good question.
What does a sexually healthy man look like?
That is a good
And
question.
That's such a good question.
In my mind, this is just my own experience. One of the things that I came to the conclusion of as we've moved along in our marriage is that I don't know of another feeling in the world at like the feeling you get after having sex, right, and making love.
Mm-hmm.
And so if my wife doesn't have the same experience, then it bothers me, and
That's
I'm
so
on a
good.
mission
Right.
to help you get to where I am. I want this for you more than I want anything else for you. So there is nothing else. I've never done drugs, but I don't think it fits you there. Right, so I think that's part of what a healthy,
That's good, babe.
sexually
That's
healthy
really
man
good.
looks like is, not in it just to get it for himself, right?
Mhm.
I'm in
Right.
there, wow, you didn't have a good time? Okay, we need to fix it because baby, you did it for me, right? So I need to bring this back home. I need to do it for you. So how can we get there? So. And there's a lot of questions that we don't have time to get into, but I think that's a great question too. And then what does a sexually, healthy woman look like? Right.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe for the next time we talk, maybe that's a good question.
We
I think
talking so.
yeah. So this is just the second in our series. Thank you, Latron.
Go ahead, brother.
So this is just the second part of our series. So we'll be coming at you multiple times over the next week up until our event on the 12th, which is our annual event. This time it will be virtual.
Yes.
And so go ahead. Do we have the?
It's up. The link is on the screen.
Okay, there it is. So go to and sign up for this event, loveforreal2021.eventbrite.com. And it doesn't matter where you are in the country, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Right. So hit us up, connect with us. We are bringing you a special guest. We're going to be talking about this topic, sex and romance. And we're going to bring a special guest that can really hone in and help us out. Bring your questions, bring your comments, bring your whole self, your whole marriage. And we're going to chop it up. We're going to have awesome conversation. And it's a real low cost. And, probably less than you can go out and eat at Chick-fil-A before. So let's do it, people. Let's get together. Let's have this conversation. Let's blow up all of these, whacked ideas of, what sex is and ideas of multiple partners and all that. So we're going to talk about all of this stuff. We're going to have a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. You might even cry some, but we'll be there for you.
And it looks like that link is not working right now, of course. So just give me a few minutes to fix it after this is over, but it'll be live in a couple minutes. So I thought maybe I didn't hit publish Sorry.
Okay, you want to try to go and hit
Oh,
publish now?
you have to log in and all that stuff, but
Okay.
it's all good. It'll be up. So whenever you all watch this later. So this is the thing I want to encourage you to do. Please share this with the people that you know. Like, you know, again, anybody in the world now, because we're doing it virtually, anybody can come. So share it on your wall. We're going to post a flyer or whatever you can share with people, you know, call up your friends, text them, whatever, invite them to be a part of this. It is going to be a great time. I promise you, you're going to have a good time.
And we're talking about sex, so how can it be boring?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
It'll be a good time.
Yeah, so you can find us on all of our social media, right here on Facebook, out on IG, Living Well Marriage, YouTube, anchor.fm/Living Well Marriage for our podcast. So we're there, and you can support us at patreon.com/Living Well Marriage. We're here for you. We facilitate, you know, so our core offering, if you will, is groups, marriage groups, because we believe that doing marriage together in a community with other marriages, you know, enables us to defeat that statistic of being divorced 50% of the time, right? So we can overcome that. We can do better than that. And, you know, we're here for you and you're here for us. So thank you. We appreciate it. And until next time, peace and hey.
Good night, y'all.